We're going to continue our discussion on school choice, specifically vouchers and educational credits, through this chat. In this chat, we're going to talk about considerations that we need to consider when we're looking for options about regarding school choice and educational credits. Also, some special considerations that may need to be taken into play when states and legislators are considering the school choice voucher education credit debate. And finally, we're going to wrap up by taking a look at one state's voucher tax credit program. We ended the last discussion on school choice vouchers and tax credits with an overarching question that I feel is at the heart of this debate. How can school system funding provide sufficient flexibility to fulfill the aspirations of many parents, while at the same time providing incentives for schools to improve the performance of all students without reducing equity? That is the big question that is at the heart of the tax credit voucher debate. I came across this quote and I really feel like it's a great way that for us to start our discussion about the considerations around vouchers and tax credits and some cautions. And this quote, I'll read it to you. When individuals focus only on themselves, they're often unable to see when their desires conflict with the needs of others. In the midst of the debate, there are those that are truly only focusing on parent choice and individual choice in the education. However, when we only focus on ourselves, we fail to see how that decision may impact others, and in particularly the big picture, our citizens and our country, the economic development of our country. All of those things need to be taken into consideration in addition to parents' right to choose. There are 8 areas that must be considered when discussing tax credits and vouchers. It is important to keep at the heart of it that this isn't an individual choice issue, but this is about an equity issue. First of all, vouchers almost never provide full funding for student tuition. Therefore, students that come from meager resources or poor children won't have the financial resources to take advantage of a school choice option. Charter voucher schools don't have to accept anyone. Therefore, that increases segregation within the community. They also are notorious for kicking out kids that are hard to reach, that don't follow their specific policies and rules. Public schools must teach all of these children. This again leads to equity issues and segregation within the community. Private schools give parents less choice and are less regulated than a traditional public school, which is governed by a local school board. Their elected officials that govern a private or charter school do not typically come from within the community and are not representative of the community. Student performance indicators do not show any evidence that private or charter schools perform better than traditional schools when measured by the same assessment tools. A voucher and a tax credit system takes away funding from traditional public schools that are required to serve all children. If we truly want to reform our public and private schools, the school choice debate and the tax credit and voucher issues are really taking away from the heart of the problem in our public schools, and that is that of poverty and funding equity. Finally, school choice really is not supported by a grassroots movement or the majority of the citizens in a community. Most supporters are considered wealthy and are from a higher socioeconomic class than the majority of the population. There is no single solution to this issue, but there are 2 key areas that policymakers must keep in mind. First, it's essential to provide checks and balances that prevent choice from leading to more segregation. School policies may have to balance both the risk of increasing residential segregation with the risk of greater sorting students by both ability and socioeconomic status. Providing choice to parents without exacerbating segregation can be achieved by introducing specific criteria to the allocation of students across a set of local schools. Incentives could also be provided to charter or private schools for selecting disadvantaged students. The second key area that must be considered is that we need to ensure that all parents can exercise their right to choose the school of their preference. Policy should be targeted to support the disadvantaged families, not only by offering financial assistance, but also by providing mobility through public transit. In order to avoid unfair competition between public and private schools, it should be required that all publicly funded providers, this includes private or charter schools who accept a voucher, adhere to the same regulations regarding tuition and admission policies. I also firmly believe that a viable solution is to continue to study highly regulated programs that use vouchers and education tax credits. There are programs in a few states that have started this statewide, and we're going to take a look at the Louisiana Scholarship Program next. We're next going to have a quick discussion about the programs in Louisiana that are implemented statewide to address school choice, specifically tax credits and vouchers. The three components of this program is the voucher program, which is known as the Louisiana Scholarship Program, and the school choice for students with exceptionalities, which reimburses families for 50% of the state per pupil funding, and finally then the tax credit program that is afforded to families whose students choose to attend an alternative school. The voucher program, the Louisiana Scholarship Program, is pretty unique. The parts I like about this program is number one, it is not eligible for students who have a family income that exceeds 250% of the federal poverty line, which is approximately $62,750. Additionally, all voucher students must take statewide administered tests, the same as their public school counterparts. And the final important piece of this program is that private schools must demonstrate sufficient scores. If their scores are low, they will be then restricted from accepting any additional voucher students. The second option in the Louisiana program is a school choice for students with exceptionalities. Students that have a diagnosed exceptionality, including a disability or talented and gifted, are eligible to apply for tuition assistance that would be no more than 50% of the statewide funding per pupil. And that funding then can be used for them to attend a specialized school. Parents would also then be responsible for coming up with the remaining funding. The final component of the Louisiana program is the tuition donation tax credit. This allows families who fall below the 250% of the federal poverty line to receive a tax credit. The criteria for this is that they must have a child entering kindergarten, they must be enrolled in a Louisiana public school, or enrolled in the Louisiana Scholarship Program that I just visited about. As you can see, the Louisiana program has three critical pieces that I believe are an attempt to address allowing parents choice while maintaining the integrity of the public school system. These programs deserve a deep look, and I would strongly urge legislators and elected officials tackling with the issue of school choice, educational credits, and tax vouchers to examine deeply.